Hey guys, welcome to another episode of tutorial. And today we'll be talking about a very interesting topic. It's something that just basically lays the foundation to building to your journey being a workflow automation specialist, and that is basically the type of nodes in anything. But honestly, I feel like I won't be doing anyone any favor, or I won't be helping anyone if I just go straight to talking about types of node in anything. Because that's not the first step. I talk a lot about when you want to build anything, you always have to start from the first principle. And the first principle in anything is just that what is the most basic, what is the foundational level of knowledge I need to have. And then once you have that, once you fully have a grasp, you have a very good grasp, you have a very good understanding of that first principle, you can then start to layer your information. So what I'm essentially trying to talk about is logic mapping or process mapping. Now, before we start with this tutorial, if you don't know me, I'm Damola. I build everything from automating workflows, building AI agents, chatbots, or any other custom AI solutions for businesses. And yeah, in my journey being in this field, I've had to do a lot of things to make sure that okay, every day or day by day I'm getting better. And then the essence of this channel is to at least share that experience with someone else. Hopefully it helps that person too. So yeah, so what is logic mapping or what is process mapping? So let's use an analogy here. So say for instance, I say or a client reaches out to me that okay, I would love to I would love for you to help me build a content creation or a content kind of workflow where it grabs my ideas for me or it writes my ideas, it's tailored to my niche, tailored to my audience, and then it posts to a particular channel. Let's say for instance maybe X or LinkedIn or Instagram, whatever. Now, so what I would have normally done when I initially started building workflows is I'll just go straight to n8n and start looking for what to connect. But then I found out that that was not a very optimal process for me because more often than not I'll be very confused. More often than not, I would have to debug a whole lot because I didn't start with understanding each of the steps involved first. Especially again because in this particular instance I was still a beginner then. But of course, in life, when you're joining through anything, you just naturally get better because you start to learn, or you start like having to go and start to learn some things again. So what helped me was logic mapping. Now, in this particular case where we want someone to help us write a content or help us write basically do a content kind of workflow. Now, what I would normally start with, or what I will start with now, I'll first ask, okay, what are the steps involved? So let's say I'm the content writer now, or let's say, or even me, I'm the client. I want to reach out to someone that, okay, see, help me write this particular content. What are the process the person is going to do? And the very first thing is probably, okay, the person will want to know is what are the times I want to post? How many times do I post per day? Do I post twice a day? Do I post every day? Is it once daily? What is that? And then what type of ideas do you want to actually post? So if I give the person a rough idea, the person might okay, probably have to go and do some research. I'm going okay, let me expand on that idea. Once the person has the research and has the content, the person is going to write that content and at least put it into a database so that every day, let's say I post once daily, so every day, let's say by 9 a.m., the person would go and then go and grab that. Or let's even make it very practical. So I did this illustration. So let's say this is the content person I want to hire for me. So I said initially this per, this person would have to at least go and get that content from somewhere. After she gets that content, she's going to put it into a database, and she has put it into a database. Every day at a particular time, that's probably the time I want the post to be made. She's going to come and grab that post and then post it into, let's say in this instance, I want to use X. Let's not post it into X. Now, this is what the manual process is like. So once I understand this, I want to understand okay, all the process involved in this. You would see that building in anything just becomes very easy because right from this glance, I already know what I need to do. So what would that look like when I want to build in anything? Now, since I know that okay, I want to be posting every day at a particular time, so I know that okay, I'll need to have a schedule trigger. Is this schedule trigger that will make me okay, the workflow is going to actually trigger by let's say 9 a.m. And now once I have that, I want to move again to I want to move to something like, okay, database. What database would I have? I can want to use Google Sheets in this instance. Google Sheets. So I want to use something like Google Sheets. So Google Sheets, or probably even before Google Sheets, I can want to go and research first. Let's say I want to research what I'll talk about. So I can go to somewhere like Tavily. So Tavily is a platform that you can do lots of research on. So I can want to do my research first, and then I put all those ideas into a database Google Sheet, and then if it's a particular time, I then go and post that particular content to X. So you can see that in this instance, I already know what I want to go and build in anything. So then I'm going to anything, I'm not looking for what is what. I just go and find each of these nodes. So I'll find a schedule trigger. I want to find how I'm going to move from Google Sheet or from Tably, copy the ideas into Google Sheets, and then going to be activated on X. Now, this is essentially at least a very rough idea of what logic mapping or process mapping is. So that when I want to build, I build very fast. I debug less. I'm not lost. I'm not confused because I already mapped out each of the steps involved. So let's go into it and talk about the types of nodes. Because when you understand this process, you then know the nodes to use for to actually build up a particular workflow. So this is my n8n platform. This is my n8n platform. Now, so let's start with what are the basic things to first know, especially if you're a beginner in workflow automation or using anything. Now, what you have to first, so this is a blank. So this whole background is actually called a canvas in anything, and that's where you do everything from connecting all your workflows, anything you need to build it on this blank canvas. Now, it's first known that so workflows are actually executed from top to bottom and from left to right. So this is actually a manual trigger. So see what happens when I click on execute. So you can see that the topmost rows was actually executed first before this one, the bottom rows is getting executed. And you can see the execution ran from the left side towards the right. The execution did not run from the right to the left. It started here and then it moved. So let me do that again just so that you missed that the first time. So if you see, you can see, so it started from here and then it moved from left to right and then from top to bottom. So that's the very first thing you should know. Now I think you should know that executions are not run parallel. So again, if I do this, it's not as if they're running at the same time. That's actually what I'm saying. And that's what my first point is actually trying to explain. That the topmost row is going to be executed first before the bottom row. And why would this be very useful to have as a knowledge? Is because so let's say you have a kind of workflow that okay, you want something to happen, some set of actions to happen first. You can put a set of actions at the topmost row. So once those are all executed, then the bottom row can then start to execute basically. So that is how workflows are being executed. Now branching. Now so workflows actually be branching in different type of ways. Now it might be dependent on logic that okay, based on this particular logic, I want this route, I want this pathway to be routed to a particular destination or towards a different destination. So say for instance, let's say I have a classroom of 10 people, and in that 10 people we have 5 males and 5 females. Now I can do a kind of work that okay, see I want all the males in this class to go to a particular person and the female should have a particular person. In that kind of workflow now I'm trying to branch that okay see based on what I want, some set of data are going to go into this route and that set of data is going to go into this route. Now that way we can branch is in this way. So let me do this. So if you can see I can literally just have just this where from this particular node, so these are all called nodes, all of these are nodes in anything. Now from this particular node, I can have just one branch where there's just one branch that's connecting to the next node, which is what I'm trying to do here. So I'm connecting all the outputs from here into this node. So you can literally see there's only one item, and that one item moves from this node into the other. Now I can also again branch out from this particular node again. So all I need to do is just drag from here, come and put it here, such that it is still the same item. So one item is going here, it's still the same one item that it's still the same one item that's going to also branch into this node. Essentially, that is another way to branch. Now, but the difference in branching in this way or where we have an if node is that something like an if node. Now, in this particular type of branching, when you are dragging all the output from one node, it is the same amount of data the same set of data that's going to be passed from each of the nodes. So that's from the same set of data going to pass from this node to this node, and then from this node to this node. So we have 5 items here. It is that exact 5 items that is going to move from here to here, and then from here to here. Now the other one is on like this now. So I can do a logic that, okay, see, if I have five children and five adults, or 10 adults, and I want the adults to move to probably go and meet someone else, and the children should go and meet someone else. Now since the total amount of data I have is 15, where we have 10 adults and 5 children. Now in branching that way, since I put a condition that, okay, all the children go to this particular area, it's not the same amount of data. It only means it's only the 5 children that is going to move, to that particular destination, and then the other 10 adults can move to the other destination. Unlike when I'm branching from one node where it is the same amount of data. So if I have 15 data, all of those 15 data sets are going to move to the different routes I've actually delineated. Different from we were having conditional logic. So in conditional logic, you actually try to separate data or move data differently based on a particular parameter. So that is that about about branching. Now, of course, once you want to activate a workflow, once you actually want to once you are done building, and okay, so what's the next step? Next step is actually activate this workflow so that, okay, the thing runs automatically. All you have to do is to just move here and activate your workflows. Basically, just activate your workflow like that. And so in this particular way, the workflow is activated. And now it means that all your executions, are not you're not going to see them on this. So if you look at here, you can see something like an editor tab. Something you see an editor tab. So this is where all your manual executions are going to be configured, tested. But once you've activated your workflow, you don't see anything in the editor section again. The workflows then move to the executions tab, where you can then see all the logs of your executions. So if you see this beacon sign, anything about beacon sign means it is actually a manual execution. That is, this particular workflow was executed in the manual before I activated this workflow. So a beacon sign like this literally means, okay, see, the workflow was executed manually. But if you don't see a beacon sign in front, it means it was an automatic execution. That means that execution was run after you activated the workflow. And so you also always make sure you cultivate the habit of always saving your workflow. So as you're adding up new nodes, you click on save. This because you don't want a situation where imagine doing a 50 nodes kind of workflow, and maybe something happens and then all of that is lost, and you have to start from the beginning again. That will probably be a nightmare. So as you're adding, as you're testing, as you're refining, you make sure you're actually always saving up your workflows. Now, so let's move to the types of nodes in n8n. So essentially we have the trigger nodes, we have action nodes, and data transformation nodes. So if you look here, so there are trigger nodes, action nodes, and data transformation nodes. So we'll be going through one of them after the other. But just at least from the beginning, what are actually trigger nodes? Now, what trigger nodes are actually, they are those nodes that activate the workflow. The triggers is what starts a particular process, such that without that trigger, the workflow cannot be activated. Now, you don't need to know what type of nodes to use before you build a project. Is once you are given a project, that's what is going to inform your choice of, okay, what do I need to do? In a particular instance, it was a content type of workflow. And me as a client, I said that, okay, see, I post 2 times daily, let's say at 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. Now, since I post 2 times daily at 9 a.m. and 4 p.m., it means for that type of workflow, it's going to be a scheduled trigger. And the scheduled trigger will be put as 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. So you see, in that instance, it's not as if I know what to do beforehand. It's what the client wants. That's what's going to inform your choice of nodes to use. So those are trigger nodes. I'll talk about them at length now. Action nodes are just the nodes that enable you to perform a particular action, like the name suggests. So in this our first instance, the action node here is going to be this X workflow, because I want to post to X. So this is what's going to execute the action for me, perform the action for me. So for this example, this is my action node, this X node here. And then we have data transformation nodes. Now I said sometimes you might have to apply conditional logic, where, okay, based on this particular thing, I want this workflow to do this, or based on this logic, move to this particular area. We're unable to do that, or to transform data from one type of way or format to another, are called data transformation or data manipulation nodes. So there are some kind of core trigger nodes. Now these are the nodes that you always use at least 99% of the time in your building your workflows. I did explain what a schedule trigger is and what it does. So I just open that note for you. See, you can see the trigger intervals. You want it to be run to be executed daily. If it's daily, you just come and select it. I actually have a list of options. So you want it by seconds, minutes, hours, you can always do that. And there's even the custom, you can customize the particular time you want. So if I set this to days, and I leave it as at this between triggers at 1, it means that every single day at 9 a.m. this workflow is going to be activated. If you want it to be at 9:30, you can just do this so that every day at 9:30 is going to be activated. If you want it to be per hour, let's say it's twice a day, so I can do like how between triggers should be 12 hours. So what this means is that every 12 hours, that workflow is going to be activated. So that's all about the schedule trigger. And then so we could have on app events. Now sometimes some workflows need to be activated by a particular app. So let's say I want to like, okay, once I receive an email, do this or do that. In that particular instance, the app I'm going to actually use to activate my workflow is a Gmail trigger. So we could have maybe the work can want to be activated by Slack. I have to use a Slack trigger, and it could be a Telegram trigger. So those are all type of app triggers. It could be Gmail, could be Slack, could be any app at all. So you have to know that you actually have an app trigger. Now we could have webhooks too. Now say for instance, if I search for Gmail now, you can see that I have the Gmail node here. Now, but anything is actually an automation tool that allows us to connect different apps together. So some apps are already natively integrated into n8n. So you can see that Gmail is already within n8n. You can see that so something like Slack is already in n8n. You can see that we have something like Google Sheets already in n8n. But some apps or some softwares are not within n8n already. So what happens? How do we receive alerts from those type of softwares? That's why we use a webhook node. So a webhook node allows you receive alerts from an external app that is not within anything, so that if an event occurs on that app, and now the caveat there is that okay, for a webhook trigger, an event needs to occur on that app first before you receive the trigger in anything. So if the event does not occur on that external app, you cannot receive your trigger within anything. So just know that. Then we have the unformed submission. Now you might need to know. Let's say for instance now you can have a company or a website, maybe where if you're offering a service, you can have a website where you have a form there, such that as people are filling that form, it's being populated into your CRM, and let's say you need to receive an email. But that kind of workflow, you use an form submission. And literally for all these type of nodes, you can just come and search for them. So you can search for anything form, which is what you are seeing here. Once you click on that, you have something like this. So that is your form submission. For form submissions, you put your form title. You can name it anything you want to name it, basically. Your form title and description. What you want that form to look like, or description rather of that form to explain what the form is about. So let's say I have an automation agency now called let's say Damola Agency. So I can name the title Damola Agency. That'll be like the title, and then let's say I can say welcome to just so you guys can see what I'm talking about. So welcome to Damola's agency. And then you can put your form elements. So your form elements are the fields that are going to be within your form. So I can say something like your full name, and you want it to be actually required that okay, people have to fill that particular part of the form for them to submit. You can just toggle that here. So click on toggle. Now a placeholder is what you see in a particular field before you put. So let me just explain the placeholder here. So you see what happened here. You can see that before I put anything, you can see this EG will get back to you soon. This is actually a placeholder. It's kind of make users understand what a particular field is, because you might have some fields that users don't know what it is. So let's say in this type of full name here, I just for the purpose of analogy, I use something like F name. Now users might not understand what F name is. They understand name, but they don't understand what is F. So for placeholders, so I want them to actually easily understand, I can just say okay, input your full name here. And you see what that looks like once I activate this. So input your full name, input your full name here. And I just quickly execute that. Let's see what that will look like. So you can see Damola Agency, F name, and you can literally see input your full name here. So this is actually a placeholder. So that is that about that. Then so basically that is all about um, the core trigger nodes. Now we have data manipulation node. So if I just quickly do this, okay. So let me execute again. Alright, so you can see here, so this is, I've executed this workflow. Let's see, so this is a leads data. I just asked ChatGPT to give me a list of leads. Once I execute it, you can see them. So this is actually a leads array. How do I know it's an array? An array is basically a list. So you can see for this leads data, I have how many leads? I have one, two, three, four, five. So five leads basically. And each of those leads, you can see their details. So their first name, last name, email, company, phone, blah blah blah. You can actually see that. So that is the sample that I'm working with here. So let's see, how do I manipulate this data? So now initially you can see from here that it's actually just, so if I just change to the JSON view, I can see it's just one item, one JSON item. I don't know what JSON item is, you don't understand what I'm talking about. Just watch my video on data, on understanding data in anything. You understand everything about JSON, understanding data, so that, because basically that's the basic foundation in building workflows, in automating workflows. You need to have a very good understanding of data. So like I said, this is JSON data, and it's just one JSON item. So you look at this here, you can actually see one item. That means this is just one item, but that item contains about five different leads. Now, so let's say, okay, I want them to actually be separated. So this is also this table view. Table view is leads, and in that leads I have the first lead information, this second lead information, this is the third list information, all together in a particular list. Let's also actually separate them now. I want to separate that so that each item is standing on its own, or each field or each element is standing on its own, or each lead is standing on its own. What I'm going to use is split out node. And you can see here that we have two fields to split out. So it's basically not, the node is asking me, okay, what do you want to split? So you want to split out the leads up here. I'll just drag that here and I'll put leads. So that it knows that, okay, see, it is these leads that is going to split out individually. And let's say that other, apart from leads, in this particular instance, we only have leads data. So if I do this, you can see it's only leads that we have. That's the only field. But if the other fields, like let's say we have leads and we have something like let's say like under particular field entirely, I can say, okay, see, only include the leads, only split out the leads field. If I want to be another field, so I can, or all the other fields, I can put all other fields. Let's say we have three different fields, and I want, okay, see, just split out the leads and the second field, and I can come and do that here, second selected other fields. So once I do this now, you can see, so let me just do a comparison. Unlike here, so look at the table view here where everything was allocated into one item, into one particular list. You can see I've split them out so that each lead information is standing out on its own. So like here we just have, so look at the table view here, you can see how it looks like, and look at the table view on this other, and see how it looks like. You can see now we have each lead standing on its own. We have Sarah Johnson as a particular lead, David this as some particular lead field. So that's how you can split out your data. And so let's say now, based on this field, I want, let's say, I want, okay, see, if the leads is from LinkedIn, so you can see on that source here, or let's even use, okay, so if the status is actually a new lead, I want it to go and meet a particular person, or if the lead is has been contacted, you should go and meet another person. And or let's say the interest level is like let's say for leads that the interest level are low, go and do that. So but I want this, this data, all the data I have here, I want to route them different. Like, okay, see, if you are in this particular condition, go here. If you are in particular condition, go here. If you are this condition, go to the other place. What enables me to do that is actually called a switch node. Now there's actually difference between a switch node and an if node. You can see even their icons look alike, but I'll explain very shortly. Once I explain the if node, you see the difference. So now, what you need to first know is that once you want to route to, like, multiple branches, like let's say three different branches, four different branches, what enables you to do that? What enables you to do that basically is your if node. So your if node allows you route your workflows to different branches basically. You can route, okay, see for this particular one go here. So in this instance I'm using interest level. You can see what I have here. This expression is interest level. So what I'm basically doing is that, okay, see what I want to route is this interest level. That's okay. See, the interest level is high, go to the first branch. And so let's see what that will look like. And so so if I look at this first, you can see here, and the output has no name. It's just zero. So if I zoom in, you can try to only have 0 and 1. So this is the first output branch. This is second output branch. But see, if I want to rename now, you can just rename your output. So let's say, so rename the output and try to ask my output name. So I can say name this interest level. So that's the name of this output branch, interest level. So let's see what that will look like now. So once I execute the workflow, so you can see that it has routed all the data set that had the interest level to be high. So you look at what was in this was the input that was entry. We had Sarah Johnson, David, Emily, Carlos, and Priya. Those are five. But I first routed them that, okay, see, for the data sets that their interest level is high, they should go into this interest level output. I can see for the interest level we have three items: Sarah, Carlos, and Priya. I can see for them now, look at them now. So the interest level are all high. So this was actually routed accurately. So now let's say I want to route to, okay, say for people that have, I want to add another branch. Okay, see for people that have their, um, it's for people that have their, let's say, is it leads now? That's what we can use it. So I used, the status to be new lead. So if I want status to be new leads, this and that, route, I want to branch based on status level. Okay, so I want every new lead to go and probably be routed to the marketing team, such that the marketing team, can contact them. What I need to do in that particular instance is, okay, see, come to this, I'll just be literally drag this, okay, that status level, which is what I did. I map it into this particular region. So for status that is a new lead, they should go into this second branch. I can also rename this one now into status level, and then if I execute that, so you can see interest level has been routed appropriately, and then status level we can see one item here. So the one item, so Emily Brown is, you can see, is she's a new lead, and if I come here into status level, you can see Emily, where's Emily Brown? So Emily Brown is a new lead. Now one thing to note here, because you can see that we have more than one new lead. So if I want to ask that, okay, why are we not only having one item on that new lead, but we're having, Sarah Johnson is a new lead, Emily Brown is a new lead. Why is only Emily Brown that is routed? That is because, one a particular data set cannot be routed, differently. Like they can only go through one route. So since Sarah Johnson, I've already routed, Sarah Johnson through, based on interest level. This same Sarah Johnson cannot be routed again to status level. They can only, she can only go through one, that this data set, this particular data set, this new data set can only be routed into one branch. That's why you are seeing that although Sarah Johnson here is a new lead, she's not being routed into the status level that has new lead branch, because she's already within the interest level. So just make sure you know that, so you're not confused. And so you can keep adding more and more rules. So you can add another rule that, okay, let's say you want that, okay, see, people that are coming from the source is from LinkedIn. You can just drag that, into this, okay. But source that is, let's say, LinkedIn ad, which is the source you are seeing here. So the source is LinkedIn ad. You can actually just do that, LinkedIn ad. So if the source is from LinkedIn ad, you can literally just see that here. So that's for LinkedIn ad. And then you can add another rule again. Keep adding, you can add, if you want to add 100 different routes, just keep adding. I can literally see what that looks like here. So the more routes you keep adding, is the more output that will be actually, you see. And this is how the switch node is different from the if node. Because for the if node, we literally have, so now I've said that, okay, see, for those that have interest level as high, okay, probably go to this place. So this is what you are seeing as the if node. Now the if node, how it is different from the switch node is that the if node has only two outputs, whether that data set or satisfies a true condition or a false condition. Unlike in the switch node where you can see for the switch node I can route to many different destinations. You can see one, two, three, four. The if node can only be routed only has two outputs, the true or the false. So let's say this particular data set now that is entering. So you can see three items entered into this node. So let's say I want to route them that okay, see. Let's say I want to use that okay, status. Let's say I want to route that. Let me delete this. There we go. So let's say I want to route that. Okay, see if the status of the particular lead, so I'll just drag status. So status is a new lead. So you always want to make sure that you are using the exact name how it is written. So you can see the N starts from a capital letter, the L starts from a capital letter, so it's the same name. So if this status is a new lead, go to this particular region. So I'll just execute. I literally see. So for the true branch, so let's see the true branch. Now we had three data sets that was actually entering to the workflow. Look at the three data sets. So you can see for these data sets we can see only one of them is a new lead, which is this first one. The others are not. So you can see the true branch. Now for the true branch, it has routed that person accurately. You can see she's a new lead, Sarah Johnson. And for the false branch, we have the others that are no new leads. So that's what the if node allows you to do. You want to route based on just one particular parameter. Okay, see, based on this parameter, if you satisfy that condition, go to this particular region. If you don't, go to this other region. Now, actually not one parameter, that was in my own error. You can always add a condition that you see if you're a new lead and let's say let's want to add another condition, an interest level. So if you're a new lead and your interest level is high, so I can add if you're a new lead and your interest level is high and execute. So what that means is that it is only the leads that is a new lead and has a high interest level that will be routed through the true branch. That okay, this is the true condition. That for every lead that is new and interest level is high, they're going to satisfy the true condition, so they routed to the true branch. So in this instance, you can see for the true branch we have Sarah Johnson, and again it's because Sarah satisfies these two conditions. So if you look at Sarah is a new lead, and the interest level is high, so it has been routed to the true branch. And the other ones, they didn't satisfy this condition, they satisfy these two conditions. If I want to add, so I can keep adding more and more conditions. But in this particular, what makes this very different is that the output can only be true or false. Unlike in the switch where okay, the output can continue to be. So if I add more, you can see here, the more routing rules I keep adding is the more outputs I keep having. So if I add another routing rule again, you'll see another routing rule. You can see that the outputs keep increasing. You can see from 4 now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now I have 6 outputs. No matter so that's how it differs from your if node, because if node only has true or false. So instead of using and, you can also choose to use or here. That okay, see, it's either your new lead or your interest level is high. That means that is the true branch. If I execute that, you will see now. So that means if I use or now, it means that okay, it is if it's a new lead or your interest level is high, that means that is a true condition. And you can literally see that means now these are all okay. This one now they all have the interest level as high, and that is why they've all gone to the true branch. Unlike if I use and, that means that you must be a new lead and your interest level must be high. Let me change that again so you see. So using and means you are going to combine these two conditions now to satisfy that true condition. So if I execute now, you can see in this instance now, I use and there. It is only Sarah Johnson because she satisfies these two conditions, that she must satisfy these two conditions, that she's a new lead and interest level is high. Once I use or, it means that okay, see, it's either you're a new lead or your interest level is high. That's when you will pass through the true branch. So by executing now, since I finished to all, let me execute so you see what that looks like. And now you can see now we have 3 data sets because for these 3 data sets, all the interest level were high, so they all satisfy this particular rule, and that's why they've gone to the true branch. That is, again, I've manipulated the data in that particular regard. Then now we also have, so we've seen the switch, we've seen the if node. Now we also have, you know, mm, now we also have the filter node. Now for the filter node, now what the filter node does is that the filter, like literally the name, it just sees data, you know. Unlike this, where this can be routed to two different outputs, the switch node can be routed, I mean, as many outputs as you want. The filter node now only has one output. Let me open this and we'll see. So let's say now I want to filter, let's say, okay, that if the source, you know, if the source is equal to, LinkedIn ad, LinkedIn, LinkedIn ad, you know. So we'll see. So it has kept the only condition that this data satisfied. You can see it kept and it has discarded. So this is what a filter node does. Just like the same way you have a sieve. So imagine you have a sieve, and in the sieve you have, like, so imagine you have a sieve, right? And you have a pot of rice and water, and then you pour, that pot, this the content of that pot into that sieve. Literally, you can see that the sieve is only going to keep the rice, keep the rice, and only water is going to pass through. It keeps the rice and water passes through. That's what this filter node is also doing. It's only going to keep this condition that you put, that, okay, see, and although I'm having three data sets that is entering into this, that I'm pouring into this node, I only want to keep, the data that the source is from LinkedIn. The rest I don't care, discard them. So you can see it has kept that. So it has kept the source that is LinkedIn. So under, you can see here where we have kept. You can see for kept, it kept Sarah Johnson, literally kept Sarah Johnson. And why did he keep Sarah Johnson? He kept Sarah Johnson because, she's from LinkedIn basically. She's from a LinkedIn ad, whereas the others are not from LinkedIn. So look at the source. This was a referral, this was a conference booth, and that's why it discarded the rest. So you can see for the filter has only one output. If has only two outputs, a true or a false, and then you have the switch node that can be routed into many different branches. Now, same way we have a split out node where you can see we had one item. So if you see from this lead data to this split out, one item was passing through, which is what we have here. And you can see one item. One item moved from this to this. And now I split it out into, from this one item, I split it out into five, which is what you can see here. Here we have only one item. You can see that. Let me, if I zoom in a bit, you can see we have one item moving from here to here. Unlike from here now, since I split them out, I now have five items because we had five data, five, this was an array of five leads. So I split them out. That's why I'm having five items. Now, same way you can split, you can also aggregate data. So I just do this and I search for aggregate. So you can see, so aggregate, you can use, so I do this and I put, so what I'm interested in, like, is all the item data. I want you to aggregate all the item data into a single list, and then so I put out. So this is telling me that, okay, what do you want to name the output? If I do leads now, you literally see, and I want to include all the fields, and then execute, and then literally you can see now this put output in field. I named it leads. That's why you can see leads here. If I change the name again, so let me change the name so you can see what I'm talking about. I change the name to data. So just watch what's going to happen here. So I've changed the name to data now, and you see how it's going to be populated. You can see that I've changed to data. So that's what this is. And then, so for here is, I've updated all the data set into a single list, and then the put output in field. I can name what I want the output to look like. If I want it to be data, I name that data here. And so here, if I want all the fields here to be aggregated, that's what it, like how I explained earlier for the split out. You want all the fields, you want all the fields except the particular field. Also, you can just indicate all of that condition you want here by yourself. So that is that about the aggregate node. And basically, these are like, so we have edit fields. Now, the edit fields is a very I mean, yeah, it's a very useful node essentially. Now, edit fields allows you to formulate, also manipulate data. So say for instance, now let me just explain what that means. Now say if we look at the data set that is entering to this node, we have first name and last name. We have first name, we have ID, first name, last name, email, company, phone number, blah blah blah. But we don't have any condition, we don't have any data, we don't have any header that is a full name. And now to create a full name field. What I like to do is my edit fields node. So I want to create a new data, a new field now called the full name. So I'll just type that here, full name. And literally what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come here and I'll drag first name and then the last name, drag that. So you can see full name is, so I've dragged it, literally drag this first name and last name. So this is Sarah Johnson. Now I can do that. Okay, see, if I want to include, so if I want the output to include the other fields, let me execute. So it's what I'm talking about. If I execute now, you'll see what I'm talking about. So as now we have the full name, literally you can see we have the full name because I've created a new field that was not there before. So in our data set we didn't have full name, but I've manipulated that data, I've processed that data to include the full name. But let's say I don't want to, this data set, so I don't want to include. So in this instance, you can see I'm having the other fields. So I have phone number, I have source, I have status, I have interest level, including this new one I just created called the full name. But let's say I want to just output the full name. I don't want to include all these other interest level, this status. I don't want to include that. What I can do is I'll just come and toggle this off, And once I execute again, you'll see now. You can see I only have the full name. That's kept only the full name of all these lead data. That discarded the other fields. That discarded the email, discarded company, discarded phone number, discarded source, like that. But if I include that again, you'll see. So that's included them back. Now you can always customize too. That okay, you see include. So you see this input fields to include. So let's say all except. So you can see it's asking what are the fields you want to exclude. So if I want to exclude the email, I want to exclude this email, and I want to exclude company. So it's going to include all the fields except email and company. And you can see that now. If I execute, you can see now we don't have email again. So we don't have email and company. So that is that. And now we have another type of manipulation node called the code node. Now, what a code node enables you to do is code node enables you to run a custom manipulation of a data type. So, like this particular instance where each node has a specific function that is that this one can only split out, this one can only aggregate, this one enables you to formulate or edit some type of data set. This filter can only keep one item. This one can only route to two different branches. Now, let's say now you want to cut a type of manipulation that these other nodes cannot provide. What you do or what enables you to do that is a code node. Let me explain. Let's say, for instance, in the edit in this full name, let's say I did by mistake I put a comma, so such that the name is now Sarah, Johnson. If I execute that now, you can see that okay, for this full name I have Sarah, Johnson. There's a comma, and I want to remove that. And I want to remove that comma. There's no node in n8n that allows me to remove like a particular comma there's no node that allows me to remove that comma. Like there's no node in n8n that literally has that function. So that means it's a custom manipulation I want. All I need to do is use the code node. Basically I use the JavaScript one. And now I don't know how to code, but the thing about with AI is that you can literally ask AI. So you can see that AI generates JavaScript code that. So I can literally prompt it that removes So what I'm asking is that okay, I want it to be able to generate me a code that will remove the comma character, which is this character here. So I want to remove the comma, in the value. So this is the value, this full name, this is the value of the full name here, this is the value here. So in the value of the full name field of all incoming items. basically generates that code. Um, so it has generated me the code. So if I execute now, let's see. So let's go and check, and you can see, so Sarah Johnson, David Nguyen, Emily Brown. So I mean, now there was no space there because I didn't probably prompt it well enough, but at least you get the idea that okay, see, the code not allows the custom manipulation. Where if I do not have a particular data, if I don't have a particular, I need a specific type of manipulation. That this manipulation has to be very specific. I can literally code that, and you don't need to know how to code. I don't know how to code. You can see this instance. I just ask the AI. You can ask this particular AI within n8n. You can also ask if it's Claude you want, if it's ChatGPT, you can always prompt that and do that custom manipulation for you. So yeah, those are the main data manipulation nodes you always use again and again in your workflows. Now, so let's say you want to connect externally now to an app that is not within anything. So instance, I was telling that now we have some apps natively integrated. Natively integrated means they're already within anything. I was showing some instances. Gmail, you can see we have Gmail within anything. We have Notion within anything. We have Google Drive. So I search for Drive. You can see we have Drive within anything. We have X. You can see X monitor within anything. These are already integrated. Anything already handle the integration for us. But now, I mean, apps are coming up every day. We have new apps, we have new softwares, and you can't literally be updating this, integrating these apps every day. Literally, that would be very very exhaustive. So now, anything has actually provided us an option. Okay, see, if there's an app you want to connect to, and that app is not within anything. I'm going to give you a node you can use. Essentially, that is called HTTP request node. Now, HTTP request node allows us to literally connect to an app that is not within anything. I've done a separate video on HTTP request. I'm going to provide the link somewhere. So you just watch the HTTP request node. You're going to understand it in detail. But you just know the HTTP request node enables us to connect externally to an app that is not within anything. But again, if you want a better understanding, I have a detailed video that explains that, breaks it down very, very well for you to watch. So just watch that. I also explain the difference between the webhook basically. Webhook is a trigger. HTTP request is actually an action, like is a node that allows you connect externally. Again, like I mentioned, I did a separate video on this that is well detailed. So you can watch that. Now we have the storage nodes. Now in this instance where you can see here, I have to store this data in Google Sheets. Some there are different storage nodes that you want depending on the one you want to use. But I think the two most common ones are Google Sheets and Airtable. So if I just activate this back, you can see Google Sheets. Initially just search for it here. You can see sorry. So you can see for Google Sheets, so you can see if you want a document action, if you want an append row, whatever action you want, just come and search for it here. There's also a trigger, you can do that. So this allows you that you can store data sets into a particular node. That's what Google Sheets is. It allows you to store data, populate data into that database basically. Now this is Airtable too. So you have Airtable is another storage node. So we have Airtable. You can see that, and you have different actions here too. So those are the two ones I commonly use. I think generally these are the two most commonly used storage nodes. Notion, Airtable, Airtable and Google Sheets. If you want to use Notion, also Notion here. So you can do that if you want to use Notion. But again, the two most common ones are the Google Sheets and then the Airtable nodes. And then lastly, now we have AI integration nodes, where two AI integration nodes are basically the LLM chain and the AI agent. Now I know a lot of people spam AI agents. Many little thing they are using an AI agent, but actually it's not every time you need to actually use an AI agent. For some workflows, you can use the basic LLM chain. Now the difference between them is literally you can see. So by zooming a bit, literally you can see that they actually look different. On one, you only have this output called, or this field called the model, where you connect the model. And for the AI agent, you can see we have a chat model, we have memory, we have a tool. This is because the LLM, or this basic LLM chain, cannot perform an action in terms of using a tool. Just like, okay, you wanting to use ChatGPT, that doesn't have a tool. I know now they've updated that. Okay, see, you can perform actions within ChatGPT now. You can connect to, you can work on the latest software that they released, where you can connect to apps and perform actions on those apps from ChatGPT. But this LLM chain, it means that, okay, so let's say for instance now you have a data type that's coming in, and that data type you want to actually, let's say, perform sentiment analysis. You don't necessarily want to perform an action on using a tool. Let's say you don't want to use a Google Sheet tool. You don't want to do any action in terms of, okay, see, this AI, I want you to populate this data in Google Sheets, or I want you to like send an email. You don't want you to do a sentiment analysis on a data type. All I need to just do is to use this basic LLM chain. I'm just going to attach the model I want. So I use OpenAI. I just search for OpenAI, and then I've connected it. Basically, I've connected it. That's what literally has happened there. But for AI agents now, let's want to build a chatbot, or you want to build, a personal assistant, or you want to build like a sales analyzer. That one it needs to have a memory, because imagine building a chatbot and you say something now, and then the chatbot cannot remember in the next second. That'll be very, very annoying. In that instance, you can't use an LLM chain to build a chatbot. You need to connect that chatbot to an AI agent, and then you connect a memory so that the AI agent is just aware of conversations. So if you say your name is Damola, and next instant you're asking what's your name, the AI, the chatbot can remember what your name is. That is how you connect it. That means you need to connect the memory. And like I mentioned, AI agents has function calling ability. That means that's the ability to actually use tools to perform an action. So you can say for the tools, literally, depending these tools, the tools you need depends on what you need to do. If you want to be able to send emails, you just click on this Gmail tool, and then literally you can configure how you want the email to be sent. The person you want to send it to, subject of the email, and the message you want to send. You can do that through your Gmail, through the Gmail tool. So I open what an AI agent looks like. Now you can see source for prompts is user message, and it's asking. Now this source for prompts is like, okay, see what the action the AI agent is going to perform. It needs a message to perform that action. That, okay, this message that you want the AI agent to perform, where is the message coming from? Let's say for instance now, let's say you want to build a Telegram personal assistant. I want to use an AI agent for that. Now in that instance now, the message, the user message is coming from Telegram. So I can't use a connected chat trigger node, because you can, if I do this now, if I search for chat trigger, this is what the chat trigger looks like. Now chat trigger just allows you, actually this is when you're actually building up your workflows like within anything, you want to just test it. So you can basically chat. So if I click on open chats, you will see I can literally interact with the chat from here. If I type hi, I'm not connected a chat model, so it's not going to actually work. But let's say I connect the chat model, you can see I'll type hi, agent is going to respond, and literally I can just continue to talk with the AI agent in that way. So a chat trigger enables you to do that. And in this particular instance now, that is when I can use that, okay, you'll see the source or where the message is going to come from is a connected chat trigger node, because that is the node that we have here, connected chat trigger. But let's say for instance now I want to build a Slack bot. Now it means that the message is going to come from Slack, so I can't use the connected chat trigger. I need to define it myself. I need to tell it where the message is coming from. So I'll click on define below, and then I can map the message. Let's say I've connected the Slack trigger, I'll map the message from that Slack, and I'll come and map it here. So that the agent knows, okay, you see, the message is coming from what I want to define, and then this is the message. So that is what this is about. And now this is the user prompt. Now we also have the system message. System message is what you write to enable your AI agents know what to do and how to do it, or how it should behave. Essentially, you use this way, you come and configure your prompt. Okay, see, for let's say you want to be the customer support chatbot, a customer support AI agent. This way you come and say, okay, see, you're a customer support agent. Your function is to politely respond to customers, answer this particular question for them, or do this for them. This way you come and configure that. Try to come and configure your system message. And honestly, the majority of the work you build in AI agent basically is actually in the configuring your system prompts. Because that's going to define, okay, the AI agent should do this or not do this. The system message that does that for you. So essentially, I mean, with all of this, you are well on your way to build and connect. There are a lot of nodes basically. There are an exhaustive list of nodes. But at least these are the core ones that you need in building work. With this knowledge of this type of nodes, the nodes we've discussed today, you can do a whole lot doing anything. Honestly, these are the notes I mostly use in building my workflows for clients and even my own personal projects. So I hope you have understood this. And if you don't, you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And please like and subscribe to the channel. A lot of people forget to actually subscribe. So I really appreciate you subscribing. And if you're a business owner, you're watching this, you want to build custom AI solutions for your business, don't hesitate to reach out to me. I would love to have a chat with you to see how I can bring the vision to life. Until next time, take care.